Mike, we are your hosts, Ryan and Ian. Brother, how are you doing?
What up, Doe, man? Hey, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all
Yeah,
right.
I'm a little hungover.
I'm
I'm
gonna
not
tell you
gonna
right
lie.
now. I got up first thing this morning and I said we gotta work out. Whatever we
Uh,
put in, gotta get it out of our system.
yeah, see, I just continue to put other things in my system, so
It's- just keep it going.
just keep it
Just
going.
keep it. Just
Just
roll
keep
it
the
over.
process
Roll it
going.
over.
Yeah, I
Roll over
remember
minute,
why I
man.
don't drink now, because yeah, my head's been hurting all day.
Oh my
I
God. I'm
told Jen,
telling
I
you.
said, this is why I don't do it. It
Yeah.
just
As we get older, it's
it
it's
hits
not.
harder. It hits
Yes, it
so
does.
much harder, bro.
The bounce back does it.
But on that note, I just wanted to thank you for filling our one black position here at Shed Media. We're proud of you to be here to,
Strong black jobs, man. Strong black jobs.
just
That's
to
all I gotta
balance
say.
things out. You know what I'm saying? Just,
Meeting quotas. You know
yeah,
what I
we,
mean?
we, we appreciate you
It was
checking the box for
a
us.
DEI hire, and I really wasn't the most adequate.
Shit, were
You
you the
know,
DEI hire?
I
I
was the
knew I
DEI
knew we
hire,
picked the
man.
wrong one.
You
Damn it.
know, so reality
We
is,
picked the wrong black guy.
I'm in the system, and hopefully nobody crosses the border and takes my job.
Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Yeah, that was. Well, we're going to get to that. Before we get to that, though, I just want to say this is our last show for Pride Month. So
Yeah.
just wanted to throw
And we're
one
leading
last.
into the weekend. Happy Pride, man! It's a
Yep.
big weekend. Big
Yep.
deal.
Happy Pride. Going into the 4th of July, Independence Day. Love it. It's also the end of Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I just wanted to end that as we always do with, if you or someone you love is having a mental health crisis, please dial 988. That is our 911. It's a number just for us that if we're struggling, then hopefully they'll get us the resources we need. And it is supposed to be safer than dialing 911. So 988, put it in your phone, remember it, memorize it, share it with people, and remember that men struggle too. All right? You got anything?
No, man. That's happy Pride. Happy,
Yes.
it's. I'm just glad everybody's getting the help they need. If you
Yep.
please reach out, but it's more so. Rob told me do not call him. He will not be available for this weekend, and I was like,
Understandably so.
live your best life.
Understandably so. Shout
So
out
he
to
already told
Robbie.
me.
We need you
Big
to come
shout out to
back on
Big
the
Bro.
show.
Big shout
Yeah.
out. So he's gonna have a good weekend, man. So I'll get the photos at some point.
For sure.
One of those kind
For
of
sure.
situations. So I get the good ones.
Yeah, speaking of, thank you so much for dropping what I sent you into the family group chat.
Oh, I had to do that. He's gay, but it's classical music. And
Oh my God. So, because I don't know
I
what
had
made
to-
me think to do it. Want to know? I'm going to tell you how it happened. Well, no, I'm going to tell you when we get off the show how it happened.
Okay, all right,
There's
all
a-
right.
but-
Speculation over here.
Yeah,
all I can say is there's a group chat of
Yeah, I'm not a rat.
all the siblings, and
So, do you know what happened?
he
I
posted.
think it was Shanita. She freaking texted me. She's like, just wanted to give you the chef's kiss on that meme you did.
Oh man, this is how it's a family affair.
Oh my!
You
I
get,
literally
like, all
asked her.
the
I said, "Did he really drop that in the family group chat?" She texted me
Family
back.
group
She's
chat.
like, "You're damn right, he did."
Oh yeah. I go. This is way I didn't even ask permission. I go. This is way too
Oh.
good not to share.
And you want to know what
I
the
go-
funny thing was? Is I sent it, and I thought, "Oh, maybe you didn't think it was funny because like you didn't like reply to it. You just liked the comment." So I was like, "Oh, maybe he just didn't think that was funny," and I moved on.
Dying laughing.
So I woke up to the text from your sister, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that was."
Spread like wildfire. And it's everybody like I'm gonna take a screenshot of everybody's reactions because it's hilarious how they're like, he loves classical music. Like it's just like it's hilarious.
Oh
how
my
they're
God!
quoting things.
And
It's just
William
so good.
Dafoe is just.
Oh.
I love William Dafoe to begin
Amazing.
with, so yeah,
Amazing.
yeah. I should have put it up for you guys. But I didn't share it anywhere, so I can't.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That was just a personal thing.
It's just so good.
But yeah, away from the personal stuff, let's get to what everybody wants to hear us talk about. If you missed
Yeah.
yesterday, Ian and I were on live while the debate was going on. We had a few drinks,
Man,
and
we had 8,000 people with us. If you missed it, you were at the wrong party. I'm telling
yeah,
you right
we're
now.
up to 11,000 right now on Twitter.
Welcome.
Yeah, man, we're getting up to 200
Welcome.
on YouTube. So, yeah, thanks to everybody who came and hung out with us last night. But I think after today, seeing all of the reactions, we have quite a bit to talk about here.
Yeah.
So my first question to you is, I just want to know what you personally thought overall about the debate when it was said and done.
I think it's two things can be true. I think we watched our grandfather literally sit there and try to hit us with statistics and data and actual information, and then we watched him combat with a narcissist liar.
Yeah.
And let's just be serious. He's a habitual liar. He threw so many things out there, and I rewatched it. I actually rewatched it, so that's how much torture I put myself through. I rewatched it where
that is torture.
I watched how Trump would never give a solid answer, and it was like, perfect example. There's 18, 19, 20, like it's like he's just throwing numbers out. 1,000 people coming in here, and this is what they're doing, and it's just like, you're not actually giving us anything. You didn't really touch on anything about your own. I guess if I was to sit there and be like, wow, he really grew from his last presidency, it would have been him saying, I made some mistakes, and I've really learned from those. And I would have been shocked if he would have actually came out with that kind of like bombastic kind of like mojo of like, you know what, I'm a grown ass man, and that's why I'm gonna stand on my own too. Instead, it was really just him complaining about how he was wronged once again. I give him credit for not interrupting as much as I thought he would. That started to tail off at the very end of it. Started to speak over each other.
They both started doing it.
They started to both too, but that's where Biden got his mojo, was as he progressed through.
He started that. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
So the thing that I got from it was that sluggish. He is not a good speaker, being Biden. He's 80 years old. What do you expect from this man? Like, you're literally putting this old man on stage, and you're like, perform, and it's not that's not who he is. Tap dance, and it's like,
he's never been that, by the way.
He's never been that.
Like, do you remember back when he was the vice president, and we used to make fun of, they let Joe Biden out again. He had a gaffe. Like, this isn't new, Joe. Right. This has always been Joe Biden.
And look, and I know the talk is that he had a cold. I mean, I get it, but it's still Joe. He has a stutter. He has a speech impediment. That's who he is. Some people are not good at that. Trump, and I give him all the credit, Trump is a showman. He has the gift of gab. You got to give him credit for that. That's his strong suit. Yeah. Is improv on set. Make shit up, throw it against the wall, see what lands.
But then go read it as a transcript.
But you know what's interesting? When you actually read the transcript of last night, if I could say the word, if you actually read it, Biden really had some solid points.
He did.
Like, if you actually go through and just remove the showmanship of CNN.
Yeah, remove the nonsense.
Just read what he actually had to say, and you're like,
versus what Trump was saying.
Some of it was deep. It was. You're talking about an 80-year-old man trying to literally remember data and then spew it and give it to the American people to digest. And so, yeah, there's going to be fumbles there.
On a time clock.
2 minutes, 1 minute rebuttal. Here you go. So it's like, okay, so he's trying to literally go through it. And there's a scene of you and I talking where we're like, what the hell are they talking about? Like, what was the question? And then here comes Biden literally
the question,
coming back in as a rebuttal, talks about the question. You and I both had this moment like, oh my God, that was the question.
Well, he rebutted what Trump said and then circled back around to still answer
what the question was.
And that was like, okay.
His cognizance, it's all there. Everything about it. I said, I'm not questioning, is his mind there? Everything I have said to you for the past year being with you on the show, Joe Biden is dangerous behind closed doors.
Yes.
Period. I don't care about a stage. I don't think we needed a debate. We know who these two people are.
Yes.
I don't need to see them talk to each other. I'm not interested in that. But you know what? I enjoyed a cocktail with you, and it was a fun evening.
It was. We made it a good time. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with most of what you said. It was tough to watch. I think just me, me, I try to be fair. The first couple questions were rough for Joe. And I think, like most of us, we were sitting here going, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Like, like I wanted the State of the Union Joe, like I wanted that Joe to show up.
It's hit or miss, man.
And I don't know if I really buy the cold thing. I really do. The first impression I got when he got up there was they over-prepped him.
Yeah.
They over-prepped him. His voice was hoarse because they over-prepped him. And it's like cramming for a test, right? You guys, and some people cram for tests and they do really well. I never did. And the more I crammed, it was like the more I second guessed myself.
Yeah.
And that was what I saw happening a little bit. Was like him, like almost just he was second guessing himself, trying to make sure he got the right point. And the whole time, like you said, you're on a time clock, and he also knows that every word that comes out of his mouth is going to be scrutinized.
Right.
So you also have that, behind you.
I'm the worst test taker. I don't care how
me too.
How educated I come off as or whatever. You put me in front of a multiple choice test and it's timed, forget it.
Well,
Forget it.
It's one of the reasons I did so well in the military. Like, yeah, we had tests to rank up and stuff, which were difficult, but at the end of the day, the reason I did so well is because I could do the job. Right. And the way I learned how to do that, like, yeah, you learn the basics when you're going through the school, but you really learn when you're out on the job, the on-the-job training. That's where I learned 95% of what I did as in the military, as a contractor. Like, I'm very hands-on. Show me it one time, and I'm probably going to get it. You make me try to memorize it off of a page,
right?
And I'm going to struggle.
When you look at that, exactly what you just said about learning on the job, when you look at on the job and you see that Trump learned on the job of being president and that the entire cast practically of his cabinet will not support him.
Yes.
That should tell America what's really happening. That's not even political. That is Republicans who have worked with this person. They're like, we do not endorse him, and we are not returning for that that shit show that happened at the White House. Yep. So it's quite interesting. And you talking about how Joe came today, or yesterday. Look at him in North Carolina today. Yeah, it's night and day what he gave, and it was like, where was that Joe yesterday? Because he was doing it, but at the same time, okay, he didn't deliver again the showmanship. But if you read the actual transcript of what he said, some hard-hitting stuff in there.
And that's why I couldn't stand, CNN and all the political pundits, turning on Biden the way they did today.
Immediately. We didn't even finish our show, and everybody in the comments was talking about it.
Yep.
And we took a poll in the show, and majority of the people in that show chimed in. They said Biden won that one. People were really paying attention.
And there were and a lot of people, and the same people that said that were also being critical of him in the comment section, saying, "Oh, come on, Joe." I think it's important for us not to sit here and cheer today like Joe Biden didn't have a few gaffes of his own, because he did. Right. And that's one of the reasons why the pundits are all running around with their hair on fire today. But the reality is just like anything. Let's step back, take the emotions out of it for a second, and ask yourself as a human being, have you ever been put on the spot, whether it be for a test, a speech in front of people, whatever it is? Have you ever been put on the spot and bombed and knew that you were capable of doing better?
Yeah. It's what's really kind of telling about this too is that you look at the standards that they were being held at. Biden had to prove that he's not old. He's old. What are we trying to do here?
He's 80.
4 years ago, we knew he was going to be 80 now, right?
Yep.
Like, we knew this was coming. So I don't even know why we're being shocked that an 80-year-old is acting like an 80-year-old. Like, let's just be serious right now. When you look at the standards, though, of what he had to, you can't fumble, you can't stumble your words, you got to be this, you got to be more presidential, you got to be all this stuff. What did they say to Trump? Don't be an asshole.
Yeah. Try.
Look at the bar that was really there. You know what I mean? Like, that was the bar. So, you know what? Biden did Biden. He tried to do a lot more statistics. I wish he would have just bullshitted through some of it. You know what I mean? It looked like, and we always talk about this, the kid who didn't read the book and try to do a book report versus the kid who did do it. One sounded boring, and this is what the book is about, and blah, blah, blah. And one was like, I'm going to make some shit up. It's like, there was unicorns and spaceships. It's like, you clearly didn't read the book, man. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but all right, here we go.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say both of our favorite line from the debate was Biden saying that Trump had the morals of an alley cat.
My man's 1950 disses are living rent-free in my head, man. I'm sorry.
When he hit him with that one, I was just like...
He said, you slept with a porn star while your wife was pregnant. You literally are getting caught for being molesting women, right? He damn near said rape. He damn near said it.
He almost did.
He's like, you're a felon. And I'm just sitting here like, this is a real conversation about who's going to lead this country.
Yep.
Here we are.
The felon or or whatever. Holy crap. But I
yes,
think it's important
the
to,
alley cat was everything.
and I just want to drive home the point that Trump, you watched it a second time, so I'm only going off my first go here, but Trump failed to answer, I would say, 90% of the questions
I will say
in
this.
any kind of reasonable or understandable way.
90% of his argument on that stage was about that border, and we
Yes.
knew that was coming.
Yes.
He demanded it from his party
And
to squash a Republican bill so he could run on that platform.
yeah.
And he did not disappoint. He used every chance. What would you like to do about childcare? Well, the border. And it's like, okay, well, what about the black community? The border. And it's like,
they're stealing all your jobs.
Ukraine. Well, our border. And it's like, here we go. Every single one of them, he tried to put it in there as his, and it wasn't landing because it felt very forced.
It was. And cue all of the Republican representatives going on the record on video saying that they were told to tank any border bills that were put up by Joe Biden or the Democratic Party so that Donald Trump had something to run on.
No, but
and we watched last night exactly why they wanted that, because it's literally the only thing he has. He had no answer to, hey, you're a 34-time convicted felon, And then the part that really stuck out to me, though, was when they asked him the very direct question of, what do you say to the American people who are concerned that you may orchestrate another January 6th type event? And he answered that the same way he always did, which was basically stand back and stand by.
Yeah.
And that really stuck out to me, because it's like, oh, well, as long as it's fair. And every time he said that, I'm like, according to who, though? According to you? Because you think every time you lose, it's not fair, and every time you win, it's above reproach.
And it was really quite telling, because it was all the top Republicans who were there saying this was a fair election. This is the fairest election we've had. And on top of that, there's an ad happening in Pennsylvania that the Democrats put all. They literally have spliced all of the times that he said that mail-in voting is fraudulent, and that it's not, it's the worst, this and the third. And so now Trump has switched gears, and now he really believes in mail-in voting. Well, they're using all those clips from back in 2019, 2020 of him spewing all of this rhetoric. And now they're trying to hit the Democrats with a cease and desist letter. So it's quite telling. I guess people don't realize the shit you say, you and I, the shit we say on these mics, it's going to be on the internet forever. So, reality is, like, if you don't step correct, it's going to be thrown back in your face. And a cease and desist letter, you're coming off soft like Drake. That's all I'm saying. You're giving BBL Drizzy energy.
He's 69 God.
Stay your ass home.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
So I hope you'll indulge me for a second and allow me to go through a couple of tweets that I've put out over the years.
Let's do it. I like memory lane.
Yeah, I think you'll see why I think it's relevant to the show today.
Okay.
So hopefully when we're done, you all will agree. But let me pull it up here. How do I share again? So if anybody wants to pay for a producer for the show, we're more than happy to accept donations. I would much rather just be able to snap my finger and make this stuff come up, let me tell you.
Well, I will say this to you. Oh, you got it coming up?
Yeah.
All right, we'll jump into some other things too.
Let's see, what do I like that? I think I don't know if I like that better. All right, I want people to be able to see it a little bit.
Okay.
All right, so this is a tweet. Now, I just want to remind everybody, this is a tweet that I put out in June 10th of 2020. This was my first viral tweet that I ever had that went over like 1,000 likes. It has 80,000 likes, 53,000 shares, and 6.2 thousand comments in 4 years. 4 years. Wow. All right, so you'll see the reason that this went as viral as it did.
Excuse me.
I said, an anguished question from a Trump supporter: why do liberals think Trump supporters are stupid? And I said, here's where the majority of Trump anti-Trump voters honestly feel about Trump supporters en masse, and why. And I went through and showed an article for every single point. And it was, so I literally backed up every single point that I made with a verifiable article. I tried very hard to use articles that were as middle as you could find. You know,
Okay.
every news organization has their bias left or right a little bit, but you know, I try to stick to the ones that, you know, try to stay somewhat close to center. So the first one was that when you saw a man who had owned a fraudulent university intent on scamming poor people, you thought, fine. That when you saw a man who had made his first business practice to stiff his creditors, you said, okay. That when you heard him proudly brag about his own history of sexual abuse, you said, no problem. That when he made up stories about seeing Muslim Americans in the thousands cheering the destruction of the World Trade Center, you said, not an issue. That when you saw him brag that he could shoot a man on Fifth Avenue and you wouldn't care, you exclaimed, he sure knows me. That when you saw him mock the disabled, you thought it was the funniest thing you ever saw. And when you heard him brag that he doesn't read books, you said, well, who has the time? And when the Central Park Five were compensated as innocent men convicted of a crime they didn't commit, and he angrily said they should still be in prison, you said, that makes sense. Then when you heard him tell his supporters to beat up protesters and that he would hire attorneys, you thought, yes, which he never did, by the way. That when you heard him tell one rally to confiscate a man's coat before throwing him out into the freezing cold, you said, what a great guy. That when you watched the parade of neo-Nazis and white supremacists with whom he curries favor while refusing to condemn outright Nazis, and you have said, thumbs up. That you hear him unable to talk to foreign dignitaries without insulting their countries and demanding that they praise his electoral win, you said, that's the way I want my president to be. That you have watched him remove expertise from all layers of government in favor of people who make money off of eliminating protections in the industries they're supposed to be regulating, you said, what a genius. That you have heard him continue to profit from his businesses in part by leveraging his position as president to the point of overcharging the Secret Service for space in the properties he owns, and you said, that's smart. That you have heard him say that it was difficult to help Puerto Rico because it was in the middle of the water, you said, that makes sense. That you've seen him start fights with every country from Canada to New Zealand while praising Russia and, quote, falling in love with the dictator of North Korea, you said, that's statesmanship. That Trump separated children from their families and put them in cages, managed to lose track of 1,500 kids, has opened a tent-city incarceration camp in the desert in Texas, and explains that they're just animals. And you said, okay. That you have witnessed all the corruption and lacking moral character, rudeness, and contempt for you, the working American voter, and you still show up grinning and wearing your MAGA hats and threatening to beat up anybody who says otherwise. What you don't get is that our succumbing to frustration, thinking of you as stupid, may very well be wrong, but it's also charitable. Because if you're not stupid, we must turn to other explanations. So we keep going. Now this I started adding June 26th
I
of
have
20.
to thank you so much for documenting all this because so much has happened over the years
Yeah.
that this is a great crash course into this asshole who was in charge. And literally, Biden said the same thing yesterday.
Yep.
And he said, if you know what this guy is about and you still want to vote for him,
Let's
you
keep
are.
let's keep going. So
That's
I
wild.
I started updating it in June 26th of 2021. That when Trump scammed 122 million from everyday Americans for his 2020 campaign, folks who were literally on hospice waiting to pass away, you said Trump 2024. That when Trump added 7.8 trillion, which is actually higher now, but 7.8 trillion to the national debt after promising to lower it, you said he just needs another 4 years. That when the trade deficit increased by 40% under Trump, you said it would be worse under the Democrats. That when Trump had the worst jobs record since President Hoover, you said 4 more years. That when Trump said he would be too busy working for the American people to go golfing while doing so for a year of his presidency, I don't think that one's right, but doing so for a year of his presidency on his own properties, you said that's just smart business. That when Trump said everyone would have better and cheaper health care once he was elected while 2.3 million more people became uninsured during his presidency, you said the polling is wrong. That after Trump said it's 15 people and pretty soon it'll be down close to zero COVID case in the United States while 400,000 Americans died from it, you said, who could have predicted? Of course, that was in 2021. I figured it was time for a little update. When we found out Trump expressed support for hanging VP Mike Pence during the January 6th Capitol riot, you thought he kind of had it coming. When Trump said he's financially supporting January 6th defendants and will look very favorably about full pardons if he wins in 2024, you said that's a real leader. When the January 6th committee presented video testimony from ex-Attorney General William Barr saying the former president's claims of election fraud were bogus, idiotic, and bullshit, you thought the libs are just trying to take Trump down. When you heard that Rudy Giuliani said, "We have lots of theories, we just don't have the evidence to support the claims of election fraud," you said Rusty Bowers is a traitor. Don't worry, we got more. Because when it was reported that the FBI found top secret documents haphazardly mingled with magazines and clothes at Trump's Mar-a-Lago, you said the libs are just trying to destroy his legacy. When Richard Donahue testified under oath that Trump told him to just say it, the 2020 election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman, you said he was lying. When Cassidy Hutchinson testified under oath and quoted Donald Trump as saying, "I don't fucking care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the fucking magnetometers away. Let my people in." You thought nothing wrong with that. Maybe because when you heard Trump assaulted a Secret Service agent while trying to grab the steering wheel and saying, "I am the fucking president, take me up to the Capitol now," you said, "See, he wanted to be there with us. The libs stopped him." Maybe it's because when the FBI found a document describing a foreign government's military defenses to include its nuclear capabilities at Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence, you said it's time to defund the FBI. Another reason might be when Cassidy Hutchinson testified under oath that Trump had thrown his lunch against a wall, leaving a trail of ketchup to be cleaned up. You said she's a liar. He wouldn't do that. How about the time Trump sided with Russian President Vladimir Putin, contradicting U.S. intelligence agencies and saying there had been no reason for Russia to meddle in the 2016 election, and you said Trump always tells it like it is. I almost forgot about the time Trump tried to call a January 6th committee witness, urging them to be a team player ahead of their testimony. You said must have been a wrong number. How about that time Trump defended white nationalist protesters by saying there were some very fine people on both sides, and you said he's defending free speech? It could be because of that time Trump told police not to worry about injuring suspects during his arrests, and you said, yeah, fuck them up. Because after President Donald Trump spent weeks whipping up his supporters with false allegations of fraud during the 2020 election, which culminated with his supporters storming the Capitol on January 6th, you said, this is how freedom is won. It could be that time Trump publicly pressured the DOJ to investigate Hillary Clinton to deflect attention from the probe into alleged ties between the Trump campaign and Russia, and you said, lock her up. When Trump commuted and pardoned Steve Bannon, Roger Stone, Elliot Brody, and Albert J. Pirot, just to name a few, you said one about Hunter's laptop. That time peaceful protesters were tear gassed for a photo op of Trump holding a Bible in front of a church, you said you just hate him because he's a Christian. It could have been the time Trump refused to visit the Asni Marne American Cemetery near Paris in 2018, saying, why would I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers and suckers for getting killed. You said he loves our military. When Trump proudly told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by during the live presidential debate, you said, standing by, sir. When Trump spoke on an Antifa sympathizer being killed by federal forces and said, the U.S. Marshals killed him, and I'll tell you something, that's the way it has to be. There has to be retribution. You replied with, as it should be. It has become clear that our concerns were justified. These folks aren't stupid. They are domestic terrorists.
Damn.
So,
Damn. That's a lot.
It's a lot. And the saddest part is we could add more.
Oh, 100%.
So, on top of that, here's a tweet I put out yesterday. Donald Trump was the first president in 28 years not to serve a second term, in 45 years not to release his tax returns, in 89 years to lose the presidency, Senate, and House in one term, to be impeached twice, to begin their term with a negative approval rating, to never reach an approval rating above 50%, to ask for and receive election assistance from a known foreign enemy, to refuse conceding after losing, to tell Americans the election he lost was a fraud, to incite an insurrection resulting in hundreds being charged and convicted, to have 81 associates charged with crimes, to lose their security clearance after leaving office, to have their home raided by the FBI for espionage, to be convicted of 34 felonies, to add $8.4 trillion to our national debt in 4 years, to have zero public service before being elected, to be taped detailing how he sexually assaulted women, to have 26 sexual assault allegations, to marry a porn model, to be married 3 times, to be found liable of sexual abuse, and to be an accused pedophile. Let's see how the final chapter goes.
Don't forget that he asked everybody to also inject bleach during a global pandemic.
Like I said, the sad thing is we can add more to this. Right. I just went off for what, 3 minutes?
A lot longer. that's
and we can add more.
That's a deep ass list. And here's the thing. You have more facts right there than anything this man said last night on a global stage.
No, I mean,
you literally have the receipts, and you just said these are all the things that actually happened. And if this man would have talked about his own presidency with honesty, he could talk about the mistakes that he actually learned from his learning on the job.
You have to be able to admit that you made a mistake first to be able, you got to have self-awareness. And that's the one thing that
narcissist does not
don't
have.
Let me lose this point. That's the one thing that I want people to take from today is that you have one man on one side who would refuse to say that he lost the debate, the election, anything. And then what we have on the other side is we have Joe Biden standing up on a stage and saying, you know what? I don't really debate well.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that, he didn't stand on a stage and try to be like, oh, everything was fine. It was great. What are you talking about? He knew. Yeah. And he knows that we all knew. So it was kind of like, this is a guy that can stand up on a stage in front of the American people and say, you know what? I dropped the ball last night, but let's not lose sight of what's going on here.
But let me ask you about that. Yeah. Where's the fact checking? Where's the real time fact checking when you're as you're a moderator? And I understand that there's a element that's on that where it's like, okay, well, we want to be like, we don't want to be just constantly stopping this process and telling you're wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're in that, how as a mediator are you not like, well, that's not true. So
can I tell you?
Well, I was going to say to you, if you look at what happened in Colorado with that mediator who was dealing with a primary with Lauren Boebert and the whole cast and crew of Republicans.
Yeah.
That mediator held them accountable with every single fact that was there on the plate.
Yes.
And I'm like, where is that person at to deal with a presidential candidate? Because what you just did there, where you could be like, so when you told people to inject bleach, what did you mean by that during your presidency?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you could actually throw that into
you could take every one of those and just ask them the question.
Kyle Clark. Thank you, Angry Bunny. Thank you so much for that. When Kyle Clark is his name. If you guys can go check out Kyle Clark, who handled and mediated the Colorado, that to me was a stunning performance of how do we get the real nitty gritty about these candidates who want to be in charge and running things and answer to us. But if you're going to be this pompous narcissist asshole,
yeah,
I'm not going to just skate over your presidency that you failed at the end to then take claim for all the things that you're claiming that were great under your watch.
100%.
CNN dropped the ball. I think Jake Tapper is overrated. I think is a Dana. I think they were not the right people to be there to question these two people who want to lead this country. And I want honesty from the media off the bat, because that to me was just a shit show that they literally wanted to stir the pot and then let Biden defend himself out of trying to maneuver through all the bullshit that was just being thrown out there and not even be checked at all.
Well, I mean, I think if you go back and watch, why we were watching it live, I think I say a couple times, just cut his mic. And so I think we were both feeling the same thing at the time, wishing that they had stepped in and fact checked a little more. And
I was feeling gin and juice. All right, I was feeling good no matter what. So that's a reality.
Yeah, I won't be drinking again for
I was taking that poison down. That's all it was.
Yeah, I still have a headache. But I think here's the difference. The reporter that was moderating the Lauren Boebert debate in Colorado does not have the same platform that Jake Tapper has. Number one. No, they're trying to make a name for themselves, so it's a little bit easier for them to do it the way. Now, that being said, I think
bring
everybody
him to the stage.
Absolutely.
Make a name for
take
yourself.
That video and take it and use that format that he did. The way that he checked the candidates take that video and send that to everybody that's going to moderate a debate anywhere, because that is how you should be with all political candidates.
It's
You
just
call them on the bullshit
that's
and
where
make
we're
them
at.
answer the question.
That's where we're at.
Now,
especially
that
with this
said-
mega movement.
That said, I think I'm going to give Jake Tapper just a slight bit of grace, because CNN and him going into it were already being attacked by the campaign. So if they did anything to seem like they were siding with Biden, it wasn't just gonna go bad for CNN and Tapper. It was gonna go bad for Biden too.
I didn't say just do it to both. Hold them both accountable.
Yeah, but the problem is that you're not. How many times would they have stopped Biden for lying?
It's not
Versus how many times they would have stopped.
Well, what I'm
Trump.
saying to you is Kyle Clark. He didn't stop anybody for their lying. It's how he introduced the question. He
No,
would talk
yeah,
about.
yeah.
He would introduce and talk about like you said with some of the elements. The fact that you put kids in cages, President Trump. I mean, all respects. The fact that you put kids in cages during your presidency. How do you feel dealing with the border would be the case now? That right there is asking a question that is like, you can't bullshit your way out of this. You put kids in cages. So how would you handle the situation today if you've learned from your past mistakes? Right then and there, you're now holding this person to try to maneuver from, well, I didn't do that. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, you're lying. Like now it's on blast. You're putting it on record.
But here's the thing, bro. Like, even if they had done that, I think the way that they asked the January 6th question was what you're saying. They asked that question in a very direct, specific way that there should have only been one way to answer it. And we watched Trump tap dance around it for a minute and 30 seconds without being able to answer the question. And then they asked him the question again, saying, this was the question. Do you have 30 seconds left. Do you want to answer it? Because you sure as hell didn't just answer it there.
Right.
So it was like, there was a couple times that he got checked. But was it enough? I agree with you. No, I don't think that they...
When it came to abortion, they should have led with the fact that there's 13-year-old girls now being forced to have children from their captors, from their relatives, from whatever the case is. They should have addressed that right off the bat. And just said, this is the America you have created. How do you feel about that now in hindsight?
Well, more importantly...
I mean, the way that they would have... be happy it wasn't me asking the question. Because I would have been up in both of them in general about how they want to handle this moving forward.
But can we also highlight how ridiculous it is? How ridiculous of a freaking talking point that it was? Like, I'm not saying that the 12-year-old girl, that was attacked by the immigrant, whatever the freaking talking point was. It's horrible.
Talking about that one, but yeah.
Any time that anybody that follows us or watches the show knows that, we don't celebrate somebody being hurt, women being assaulted, that's not cool. I don't care where it comes from. And I don't know. It's just
I feel like they dropped the ball on numerous locations within it. And you're right, there were some sections where they did kind of do some type of follow up to really like hold him to, or he wouldn't even answer the question. He kept going to back. Well,
that was my point. He didn't even answer the questions. That's why I don't understand the political pundits that were losing their minds today. Like, how can... I'm going to tell you all something. This is why I left the Democratic Party today. What you saw happen today is exactly why I left the party. Because they are incompetent. You can get mad at me for saying it all you want. If I told... I've got a 30-minute video telling you what the local Democratic Party did to me and my family personally. So, I'm speaking from freaking experience. And to sit there and watch Democratic pundits and even independent pundits sit there and run around with their hair on fire today like the world is ending. Like, there was no comparison between Donald Trump refusing to answer 95% of questions and always circling back to you're killing the country, inflation, or the border. Like forgetting the fact that he doesn't understand the tariffs and everything that he implemented are a big part of our inflation issues. Ignoring that the inflation issues are being had by, pretty much every country in the world because of COVID. So it's not just us. But if you look at us compared to other comparable countries, our recovery has actually been almost better than, it's been better than most.
Yeah.
So it's just stupid to sit here and say that Joe Biden and his administration aren't delivering. But here's another point I want to make. We aren't just voting for Joe Biden, guys. I want you all to remember that. We are voting for Joe Biden and his administration. And I've got news for you. Matter of fact, now's the perfect time. Let's go over some of the things that Joe Biden and his successful administration has accomplished in the last 3.5 years. The Inflation Reduction Act is generating $1.7 trillion in U.S. investments. The CHIPS Act has created more than 84,000 jobs. Infrastructure and Jobs Act already started more than 40,000 projects. 201 federal judges have been appointed. Bipartisan gun reform and first office of gun violence prevention were created. Forgave $150 billion in student debt for 4 million borrowers. Collecting $500 billion from millionaire and billionaire tax cheats. Unemployment below 4% for the longest stretch in 50 years. Added 700,000 construction jobs. Record level of new small businesses created. Largest ever investment to fight climate change to cut pollution 50% by 2030. Issued ruling to cut methane emissions by 80%. Preserved more than 24 million acres of land for conservation. Renewable energy surpassed coal for the first time ever. Capped prescription drug prices for seniors and insulin at $35 a month with all companies, not just one like Trump did. Expanded veterans health care through the PACT Act, which almost every Republican voted against. Expanded overtime for employees making under $55,000 a year. Signed the Respect for Marriage Act. Approved over-the-counter birth control for the first time. Reformed the Electoral Count Act to prevent another January 6th. Pardoned thousands of people convicted of marijuana possessions. Required cash refunds for canceled flights, connected 10 million households to Wi-Fi, and funded 14,000 mental health professionals in schools.
That's right.
So when you say, what has Joe Biden done? Send that clip. Send that clip of everything I just read to them.
That's right.
Read to them. And then go send them to the 5-minute clip of everything that I pointed out that that Donald Trump has done. There is no comparison between these two men. No. Stop playing stupid games. I can't tell you how many people that I actually kind of respected out there on the social media doing their thing. Vindman did a post. I'm like, dude, take this shit down. This is not helping.
Yeah.
You know, like you guys, this is the problem with liberals and Democrats. While we're all fighting over Joe Biden's old, you know, he stuttered, you know, he can't do it, whatever. You're ignoring all the facts that I just said, but you're pushing all this while simultaneously we're watching the GOP and the Republican Party all come together like in a kumbaya moment to vote for a 35-time convicted felon, a rapist, a libel sexual abuser, an accused pedophile, and a dude who wants to fuck his own daughter. That's who the religious, God-fearing patriots are going to vote for in 2024. They're going to vote for that guy, and they're going to claim that they believe in God, and they're going to use God, actually, to say that he is their savior, and he's going to save our country. Like, you people are so far gone, I can't believe it. You know, and then you look at me and say, I'm the problem. You look at people like Ian and I, and you say, we're the problem. We aren't the problem. Like, we actually can read above a 5th grade level. We actually understand the Constitution when we read it, you know? So
I mean, I got this black job, you know, by you know, other, but
listen, you just peep down over there, okay? I'll let you know when we need you.
You speak. I'll point. I hit the button.
And just a friendly reminder, Ian owns half this shit, so don't listen to us.
I love how you chimed in yesterday. You were like, you just had a moment. You're like, no, hold on. Let me get that mic out the way.
Before people run with this.
It is really telling to see the Democratic Party, and this is where I'm disgusted by. You know, we always talked about this, Ryan. We're in a fight.
Yes,
and look who's cutting and running. You know what I'm saying? This is the part where they go low, we go high. No, get your fucking ass in these streets with us, where we have to be coming together to fight for this nation. And I'm not saying this is rhetoric of like, let's attack the Capitol. No, take whatever clips you want from what I'm trying to say right here. I'm telling you that it is the tough road ahead, and either we get back behind the person that we knew was going to be 80 going into this.
Yeah.
You're talking about an 80-year-old. I do not expect much on a stage. He has gotten all of that done, and with the slimmest majority majority
Good point.
on Congress. Okay.
Good point. Yeah.
And if you go backwards, Trump damn near had the same slim majority, and they got nothing done.
Great
They got
point.
nothing really done.
Yep.
So with the same type of scenario, he got all the things that you just addressed done. And here we are, and we're going to talk about, well, he doesn't do good on stage. I don't need him to do good on stage. I don't expect him to do good on stage. But you put him in a room, and you sit him at the table with all these bigwigs, and he will get something turned out.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to touch on here what Chris here said. Chris says, I'm a truck driver. I see the infrastructure firsthand. Construction is booming, unlike under Trump. I'm working on a highway project that's union, making more money than I ever did under Trump, and we have just signed a 15 years worth of work in 4 projects. Oh, wait a minute. 4 projects. They claim Trump is better, yet dig nothing for the working class. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you sharing that. And more importantly, I'm glad that you're making more money. That's awesome.
Hey, man, I'm just glad that you are making it happen. The American dream.
That's the thing, man. We should all be happy when the people around us are doing well. Like, we should be wanting other Americans to do well. We shouldn't be, like, it just seems like we're always playing the gimme, 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 and keep everybody else away from mine instead of, and not everybody, of course. I mean, there are things that happen every day here that, reinvigorates me and gives me hope. But, at the same time, we really are fighting a very dangerous movement at the moment, and I wish that I was,
well,
exaggerating.
This is where I think the Democratic Party is pompous,
Yeah.
Take off your suit and tie. You need to start showing up. And this is the part where we need to stand behind somebody like Joe, who literally has showed up for us 4 years ago to step up and bat. And if that wasn't the case, then you should have thought about this 4 years ago, where you set it in motion. You failed to put Kamala in a position of leadership.
Preach.
You have not really brought her to the table, especially on the forefront of abortion.
Fact.
She should be on the forefront. It should be led by a woman who is fighting for the rights of all women. I'm sorry. We have been ran by men this entire time, and look how we have dog walked this country. It is time to literally see real change. And the thing that gets me the most is we want to cut and run. Where are we going to go? We are now 5 months from the election. You had all this time to make this decision.
Yeah.
He's
Stop playing
80
stupid
years
games.
old. Stop with him being... He's grandpa. Grandpa Joe's... He's there. He's there to bat. I'm sorry. I don't want to work when I'm 80, but you know what? This man does. This man does. So let him do his thing. He's getting shit done.
And I'm glad you said that, because I really do wish the Democratic Party would have, thought farther down the road than they did.
They don't.
Because when I saw Joe Biden win, I'm just being honest here with y'all. I was like, okay, perfect. Joe was the perfect guy to beat Trump. He got the reins back for the Democratic Party. Right. Now let's make sure that we prep whoever the next person's going to be in 4 years.
That's correct.
That was honestly my thought, and I bet you one of the internet sleuths can probably find a video or a post of me saying it. And to see how they, like you said, they have not set Kamala up for success in any way, shape, or form.
No.
If anything, I honestly think they've damaged her brand as a candidate.
They definitely put her in a handicapped position where she has her arms tied behind her back.
She does.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's fair to her. I think I respect the fact that she has stayed loyal to Biden and the administration. Right. She could have been out here voicing some frustrations and probably been fairly justified doing so, but she hasn't. So I respect the fact that she's keeping it in house, because I'm sure she's frustrated. If some of us, the American people, are frustrated watching it from the inside, I can only imagine how frustrated she is. So, we're stuck with Joe Biden, whether we all like it or not. That's why I keep saying this we can play the what if games. We can, argue back and forth all we want. At the end of the day, when you walk into the voting booth November 5th, there's going to be two people on that ballot that are viable candidates, and it's going to be either Joe Biden or Donald Trump. So the question at the end of the day, who are you going to vote for? You're going to vote for the 50-year public servant, or are you going to vote for the 34-time convicted felon who on the stage up there didn't have anything that he could throw at Joe Biden, so he threw his son who was very public about his addiction issues and threw that at him, even though Donald Jr. is a clear addict every time he hits the play button, which actually was confirmed today by Tom Arnold. Tom Arnold did a post and basically called him out. Matter of fact, it was so damning.
I'll bring that out. While you're looking that up, I want everybody to know I've been in correspondence with some of my Trump supporting friends, or just Republicans, just starch Republicans, and the arguments that are happening in general. I don't argue with my friends. It's mostly me taking shots and just being funny, and usually rubbing their face in a lot of it. And then by that I mean I'll randomly wake up in the morning with like them telling me that Eileen Cannon revealed in court today that the FBI lied and all this other stuff, and I go, oh, that's weird. I'm not seeing that. Like, where are you getting your information from? Like, because you're breaking news to me right now. And they will just literally be like, it's everywhere. Just Google it. And I'm like, okay. And I Google it. And it literally says Eileen Cannon is tossing out Trump's argument. And I just respond to them. I just send them that clip. And I just go, look, man, I get that you believe anything that comes out of Trump's lawyer's mouth. I go, but that's not. They have to prove that. That's their claim. So that's their argument. And they failed to prove that. And so here is Eileen Cannon, who we all know is just doing her job of stalling this case. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so you don't throw just random shit at me, because I'm actually going to wait for information, as you and I always talk about, Ryan. I'm not the first to try to break news.
Yeah, don't be the first.
I'm here to literally just hit you with actual information as it's coming out. Being that we're taking our time to release that to you. And so it's interesting because the same individual waking up to these things, and he's telling me that, Joe was lying through most of the debate. It really is the upside down world. It's almost like, so the person who was lying was Biden, and Trump had stretched the truth, is how he worded it. And I go, I actually like that you know that phrase, stretch the truth, because usually I would expect like some more of a Neanderthal type of comment, but I like that you hit me with that. I go, but please elaborate more on it. And then it came out. He goes, I only really listened to like 3 questions, and I didn't really pay attention. And it's like, wow. You came in so strong talking about this. I go, well, I sat there during the entire thing, and I literally fact checked a lot of things that were happening with Trump. I go, but can you tell me more about black jobs? Like, there's things there where I'm trying to get out of them what it is about it, but it exists. But please, with Arnold, what do you got?
God, it's so funny though, because what you just said, somebody said that to me in a comment. What was it? Shit, usually it'll pull it up right away. Okay, so Tom Arnold. So if you don't know anything about Tom Arnold, he had a very long stretch of drug addiction, and he's very, very public about it. Tries to help a lot of people. He posted 6/27/24 at 7:41 p.m. Donald Trump Jr. and I only have a part of it. He said, so Don Jr. said, why would Joe Biden refuse to take a drug test? The New York Post published an article about all the drugs that he could legally take to give him an appearance of clarity. If he wasn't jacked up on drugs, why wouldn't he just take an easy test? So Tom Arnold retweeted that and said, you're lucky, Junior, me and my friends were much more compassionate towards you when you had major substance abuse issues. You don't seem sober now either. Maybe Hunter can help you.
They know.
So, this is a dude that knows him.
They know.
He knows him personally. He's hung out with him. He sounds like he's done some drugs with him in the past. And he's saying, yeah, you're clearly not sober now.
Don't get it twisted. Donald Trump was hanging out with all the celebrities back in the day and was a Democrat up until he ran as a Republican.
Yep.
Do not get it twisted. All these people know him. Nobody has to make up anything.
I don't know if
they
we
were
need
all
to
at
keep
the parties
reminding people
together.
that. Don't keep reminding people that.
Please.
He was always a Republican douche. We'll leave it at that.
Hey, it just shows
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It just shows you how the coin is two-sided. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just a flip.
So,
it's so wild.
I want to move on to the Supreme Court because we've already spent an hour on this. But before I do, I just want to remind people of.
That's on the ballot this year. I don't care
What's
what anybody
that?
thinks. The Supreme Court, seats on the Supreme Court are on the ballot. 4 years from now, you better believe there's going to be a seat opening. Who do you want to choose?
Sooner than that, I think. Yeah. I mean, it's very, very possible that a seat could open up in this next term.
That's correct.
It's possible. I'm not, and again, I'm not saying probable. I'm not going to argue.
I'm just saying if someone's not trying to give it up this next election, it's because they're holding out for another Republican. Well, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah. Where is it, man? Because what I wanted, I have all the pardons that Trump laid out. And it's so damning. Like, it's just so damning. And I think we've already laid out so much. Here it is. So you guys know me. So Kaylin, our moderator, who's...
Shout out to Kaylin. Have a great weekend.
Yes, have a great weekend. She... I forgot what I was going to say now. I'm starting to lose it. Okay, so these are the pardons. And, she is the receipt queen. And I asked her like 6 months ago, I said, can I be the receipt king? And she was like, yeah, sure. So these are the receipts that I bring when I go on social media so that I'm not just talking out of my butt. I show you where I get my information from. You can take that information and believe it or not, but that's where I get my information. So these are photos of all the pardons that Trump did. So Roger Stone for obstruction of proceeding, false statements, 5 counts, witness tampering. Paul Manafort gave him 5 counts of tax fraud, 2 counts of bank fraud, 1 count of failing to disclose a hidden foreign bank account, and 2 counts of conspiracy. Donald Trump pardoned Steve Bannon in 2021. Bannon was indicted on charges of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit money laundering related to the We Build the Wall fund. So he literally pardoned Steve Bannon for stealing money from the wall fund. But he wants you to think that they care about actually building a border wall?
From their own constituents.
From their own constituents.
Donated to get that wall built.
Can't make that crap up, dude. And here's the...
Grifters are going to grift.
Donald Trump pardoned the 4 Blackwater contractors who opened fire in a public square in 2007, killing 14 Iraqi civilians. I won't read their names. They're all douchebags. Donald Trump pardoned General Michael Flynn, who, if you've been paying attention, has been making the rounds, spreading his wild conspiracy theories and domestic terrorist stuff. Project 2025. If you haven't read up on that, go read up on Project 2025.
Yes, sir.
That's one of the things that Michael Flynn has his hands in. Trump pardoned Paul Polk in 2020. Polk pled guilty to underreporting taxable income. I'm seeing a trend here. You seeing a trend, Ian? George Papadopoulos. Papadopoulos pled guilty to making false statements to the FBI in December of 2017 during the Mueller investigation. Yeah, that's a good pardon, isn't it? Donald Trump pardoned Christian Saucier. He was given an other than honorable discharge from the Navy for taking photos of classified areas, instruments, and equipment, including the nuclear propulsion system in a military submarine.
He should have just waited for Mar-a-Lago. He could have got the documents from the bedroom.
Yeah,
or from the bathroom.
He argued that he should not go to prison because Hillary Clinton didn't overhear emails. Let me tell y'all something. There's a really big freaking difference of some emails on a private server to somebody taking a photo and going into the nuclear propulsion system of a submarine and taking photos of all our equipment and sending it to somebody.
Right.
Like, let me explain this to you. I worked on the USS Abraham Lincoln. We were refurbing it in Newport News, Virginia. And during I think it was in there for 3 or 4 years. And towards the end of the process, one of the things that they do is they take the old fuel rods out of the reactor and they have to swap them. So when they do that, they have guards that show up. So we came to work one day. And so, again, as you can imagine, a lot of people that work at the shipyard are, either retired veterans or, people that did like 4 or 6 years, 8 years, some tours, whatever, and then got out. but people that did tours and stuff, you just kind of pick up on stuff. So we're walking, and we walk through the turnstiles, and it was a long walk to the boat. It was probably like a half-mile walk once you got into the turnstiles. And like in the mornings and when you're leaving, it's just like a herd of people. And we're walking in one morning, and I had a buddy of mine walk in, and I look up, and I see a dude, and I see a gun pointing over an edge, and I see a head. And I look up, I go, that looks a lot like a gun and a dude with a sniper rifle. And I literally nudged him. I go, dude, look up. And he goes, what the fuck? And then we look to the left, and on the back of the boat, as we're walking up, they had 3 snipers set up. They had snipers set up on the building across the way to cover the other, and then they had patrols walking. And we were literally told, do not talk to them, do not approach them, and if they come up and ask you to do something, fucking do it. Like, we didn't mess around. So when we got in, they explained to us they're unloading the nuclear rods and bringing the new ones in. So because they're messing with secret shit, they're like, yeah, nobody's messing around.
Nobody move, nobody get hurt.
So to sit there and pardon somebody who was taking photos of areas that I know from personal experience that if I walked into when I was doing my job, that they would have shot me.
Yeah.
And then dragged my body out later and asked somebody else why I was in there.
And then shot them too. And then shot them too for depending on
their that's how it would have gone down. So that's who Donald Trump's part. Oh, don't worry, we're not done yet. We got Michael Milken. His crimes were conspiracy, securities fraud, mail fraud, filing false reports with the SEC, assisting a brokerage firm, and violating the net capital requirements.
Why do all these guys' names sound like Dick Tracy villains and shit, man? Like, Jesus Christ.
Clint Lawrence. That's a good one. Donald Trump pardoned Army First Lieutenant Clint Lawrence, who was turned in by his own men for murdering 2 Afghans and ordering his troops to shoot unarmed villagers. He had been sentenced to 19 years during his military court-martial. So a military court sent this dude to prison, and Donald Trump thought he knew better and pardoned him and got him out of prison for shooting unarmed civilian Afghans. That's who Donald Trump is. But don't worry, we're not done. Donald Trump pardoned his father, the father of his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who received $2 billion from Saudi Arabia not long after his father received his pardon. Charles Kushner was convicted of fraud and false statements, 16 counts, retaliating against a witness, victim, statements or entries generally. Trump cited Kushner's charity work since being released from prison as the reason for his clemency.
Right. And let's not talk about that building 666, which was completely in debt, billions of dollars in debt, and just racking up, falling further and further in real estate out here. Just a terrible, terrible, terrible deal.
Donald Trump pardoned Army Lieutenant Michael Behenna for murdering a man in Iraq. He was convicted during a court-martial by a military jury and sentenced to 20 years. But Trump knows better than the military courts, so... Donald Trump pardoned Stephen Hammond and his son for arson on federal land. I thought they didn't. I thought they didn't like when people burn down federal shit. Oh, I guess they can pardon them when it's Republican. Their sentence was increased to 5 years, which caused an armed occupation of a wildlife refuge in response. Pardoned Dinesh D'Souza, who, by the way, is getting sued by so many people because 2,000 Mules was debunked so badly that the producers had to remove the movie from all streaming platforms. And not only that, they had to send out a press release basically saying Dinesh D'Souza is a piece of shit and that they were wrong and they're sorry.
Wow.
But he was pardoned prior to that, who was convicted on campaign contribution fraud. He received 5 years probation and 8 months of community service, working 1 full day per week. I said at the time, 2,000 Mule hits different now because I posted that last year.
That's wild. Question for you about these. So how many of these came out during the final strike the clock of
a lot
presidency? Of them. Like, wasn't there a flood of these that came in?
Not all of them. Like he
not all, but there was a nice handful of people mad
Yeah,
cash to get to the Oval
unfortunately,
Office to get these.
I don't have it broken down like that. But if I remember correctly, I think like 70% of them or something like that were done like in his last weeks or last months.
After he knew he would no
But
longer
the
be
kicker,
president, he
here's the
flooded.
thing though. Usually, presidents don't do these until the end of their presidency.
Right.
And Trump actually kind of bucked the system and was issuing pardons halfway through his presidency.
Right. When he knew he could strike deals.
That's when the whole is he selling pardons
Yeah.
from the White House?
Yeah.
Like that was when that started. So
Yep. I remember that.
Donald Trump pardoned Arizona Sheriff Joe Arpaio, who
that
was
piece of
known
shit.
for doing immigrant roundups while leading the department and was convicted of contempt of court. Pardoned Rob Blagojevich. He went to prison. Yeah, he went to prison for selling a Senate seat. So he was pardoned. Oh, here's the next one you're gonna freaking love. Donald Trump pardoned disgraced former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick in 2021. Kilpatrick wasn't set to be released from prison until 2037. And you want to know what Kwame's doing now down in Texas? He's a minister running for office again.
That's why I have trouble with some religion as an organized religion.
Yeah.
Why I'm not saying you can't be found again. I'm not saying you can't find God, but when you try to start making money off it, I'm good.
So again, I think if you look at and here's another little fact you can Google. So what happens in the process is the president is given like a list of suggested pardons. People who have applied to the process, gone through the process to actually be pardoned, I guess you'd say the right way.
Right.
And the office, cuts that limit down to a certain amount, and then they give it to the president. And they can throw some in, and a lot of presidents do, add a couple that they want. But they usually select a decent amount from the list of the people that applied. When that list was given to Donald Trump, he selected 2 out of all the people he pardoned.
Yeah.
2 of them were that went through the process. Everybody else was a personal favor.
Yeah.
2.
That's what's so grotesque about this whole thing. So grotesque.
So, and that was verified. Like I said, you can go Google. That's not just me saying that. So with that, let's move on to probably the worst part of the day, which was the Supreme Court decisions that started coming down. The first one I want to start with is the Supreme Court curbs federal agency power, overturning the Chevron precedent. The Supreme Court on Friday sharply curtailed the power of federal agencies to regulate vast parts of American life, sweeping aside a 40-year-old legal precedent that the government relied on to defend thousands of rules on everything from environment to banking to drugs. The 6-3 opinion along ideological lines was a victory for conservatives who have long said federal agencies wield too much power to impose regulations that burden business and stifle innovation. Legal experts said the decision will lead to a flood of challenges to regulations. And here's what I want to say before Ian jumps in. This is the personal responsibility argument, is that everybody should be left to their own devices and their own personal responsibility. But the one big thing we learned during COVID is that America doesn't really possess personal responsibility. At least half of us don't possess personal responsibility. Like they can't see past their own nose. And that's the problem. They can't think about anybody else. So we have regulations because businesses started cutting corners that would lead to things like potential sickness and death among Americans and consumers. Like an example, Flint water, the Flint water crisis, the housing market crash, Agent Orange. How many times have we had food contamination? The reason that we have all these regulations is because we have had the problem in the past and we needed to have oversight. It's just like the military. For every rule and regulation you have in the military, there's some dum-dum behind it that hurt themselves or did something stupid that caused that regulation to be put into place. Right. Prime example, I'll tell you, in the military, we had a book, and all my Air Force guys will know this, people, I should say, sorry. a book about this thick, and you would have to grab it and open it up to open the hangar doors. Now, mind you, to open the hangar doors, it's 2 buttons, green, red. Not very hard. But what happened this day was that they got the door to almost close, but it stopped. So the one airman was hitting the green button, to get it to close, and there was somebody on the outside trying to see if there was something in the track stopping it. Now, the doors, when you open the hangar doors, they have a bell. And the bell starts going off like 2 to 5 seconds before the door actually starts moving. So about 2 or 3 things happened at the same time that made this horrible accident occur. The bell to the doors wasn't working. The airman put his head between the doors to talk to the guy that was looking at the tracks down the way, and he still had his finger on the button, and the door jumped like that.
Damn.
And literally, like, a lot of people in the Air Force know this story. It was gruesome. Like, So now we have a book this thick that we literally have to open up and go through step by step to make sure that we open the door correctly. And the reason that we have that book is because of that one accident. So that's why we have regulations. Like they're literally deregulating things so people like Elon Musk and Amazon.
And that's exactly what it is. What we're seeing right now unravel is that they're creating a society where it's the have and have-nots. They want to take away the fact, and keep this in mind, that this passed months ago, that for civil rights, you cannot sue the government because you feel like your rights are being violated for you to actually to vote, to use your voice. So if you feel like you are being on the chopping block as a community, think about all the gerrymandering that's happening, where you're losing your voice more and more. And then now this with the regulations, think about environmental racism that exists. Why is it that we have power plants in certain areas that are affecting the poor, and therefore they have no vote to how they want to maneuver a cleaner society future? The fact that they're taking away your power to vote, they're taking away your actual protections that are implemented to really help you to just live a healthy, cleaner life, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That dream is being removed, much like it is for the housing market for people today.
Yeah.
When you really think about what's happening and how they're chipping away at a lot of these things, and keep in mind, who's to say that they're not going to chip away at civil rights?
Yeah.
They already have an issue. I know where it's on the pipeline, but they already have an issue with interracial marriage. They already have an issue with LGBTQ. They have an issue with clearly women's rights. Like, these things are coming down. Are you
concerned that they could actually try to strike down loving?
Wouldn't it be so fascinating because of Clarence Thomas and Jeannie Thomas?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, Jesus, I'm sorry.
That level of self-hate, not gonna lie, I definitely jumped. You already know, the brother in me was like,
right.
That's in my ears. I'm ready to go. I already know that dog is not messing around.
The hair's up on the back. Come here, girl. It's okay.
Yeah. I promise you, if Eno does that, it's gonna sound cute. Not threatening.
Yeah. Now when this dog goes.
But it's one of those things where it's really telling to see what this Supreme Court, which, if you start looking at what Justice Jackson is actually saying about her coworkers, it's very evident that she's like, this is corrupt. The conversation, which I'm sure you're about to touch on, that you can now receive gifts and bribes. Like, we are becoming a banana republic.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, too many people on the right don't care. They just don't care. And not only do they not care, but like, we can show them court documents, we can show them photos, we can show them articles, we can show them every receipt in the book, and they're still going to go, Donald Trump's the best.
But let me ask you this. If Supreme Court is rolling back what you can receive as gifts, so is Senator Bob Mendez over here in Jersey, who has Egyptian gold bars in his pockets, is that now fine?
Fair question.
Because this is where we're heading.
Yeah.
This is where we're literally heading. If this is the road you're going to have more Harlan Crows buying up.
Yep.
The conversation about who just supported Trump. everybody was talking about the significance of Trump's fundraising being 50 million in May. That wasn't contributions by a whole bunch of people. That was not small donors.
No.
That was one individual who is a billionaire who wants what Trump has to offer, which is the tax cuts.
Yep.
Who wants what this society is going to offer, this administration, which is going to be less of the red tape of holding him accountable.
Yeah.
So he can't create any situation where it's going to affect us. He would not be held accountable. I don't know how I feel so much about this Purdue.
Yeah.
What's the comment? I love how Mugga shows up and listens because right wing shows sucks of it. Yeah. We got you, Rochelle.
Hate, baby, hate.
Put it on blast. It's one of those things where I'm thinking so much about how this is going to affect the next generation.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw this up there. VM Palmer said, Ryan, my dad was a retired MCPO and was on a nuclear sub for most of his service. He would have been appalled by what's going on. Exactly. I think most rational people see what's happening and going, okay, like this is enough. Like at the end of the day, America is bigger than one man, and it's bigger than one movement. It's bigger than Trump. It's bigger than MAGA, and we need to remember that come November. We aren't worshiping Joe Biden. Like I said, you see a lot of us out here. We're like, yeah, the first couple of questions were rough. It wasn't his best night. Not saying he did fantastic, but there's still no comparison between the two. Like Trump couldn't answer a question. He just went around and around talking in his normal circles. Why Joe Biden, he stuttered and he kind of lost it for a few moments there, but he was still drilling Trump with right hooks, man. Like he was still making him look stupid. So it's like, how is Trump walking around with his chest, puffed out today, knowing that an 80-year-old, man that he claims has dementia,
held him,
was still able to, slap him around a little bit last night.
Yeah.
And he was off. Like he was off and he was still slapping Trump around.
That's what's actually, and I give it to this Trump supporter. He was like, you know what? I give them both an F. He goes, it's ridiculous that Trump couldn't have finished that off. And I'm like,
That's
that
fair.
just shows you, though. That shows you. And I was like, but I appreciate your honesty.
Yep.
You're holding Trump accountable.
Because I think most Americans probably watched last night and went, honestly,
is this the best we could do?
That's kind of, nobody said those words, but it was just kind of like everybody was left with the wind taken out of our sails. Yeah. I think, it didn't matter what side you were on. But like you said, it felt like both sides lost.
Yeah.
And that Americans walking away from presidential debate without cheering for one or the other. Because usually, like when Obama got done with his debates, he had one bad debate. I remember he had one bad debate. Right. And then he came back the next debate and freaking absolutely wiped the floor with him.
Yeah.
So, Obama's had a bad debate. I remember it. You can go back and look.
You can go see Obama's social media. He talks about it. He went out there in defense of Joe. He goes, look, man, we've all had one. I know.
Exactly. I remember it. It because I remember watching it and going, oh, crap. Like having that feeling of, we knew he was off. Like, everybody knew he was off, but it was just kind of like he was still off. It was a presidential debate. Like people are going to take that when they go into a voting booth. It's just reality.
Right.
And Obama knows that. And Biden knows that, and that's why they're playing catch up today, and that's why it's so discouraging to see, political pundits, but more specifically, left-wing and Democratic political pundits, turning their not just criticizing. Like I'm fine with some.
It's salacious.
I'm cool with a little criticizing. There was a few things that would be fair criticism to give to Joe today. I'm not saying that, but the way that they are literally just like turning their back on him and making it sound like the world is ending. Yeah, very disappointing to see that today. Very disappointing.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next disappointing thing from today, the Supreme Court ruled.
This show is so depressing.
Hell yeah.
By the way, guys, like, subscribe, and hit the notifications. I promise you, not every show is this thick with all this information.
I haven't even thought of what my positive is yet, by the way.
We have none. All right. Being sober.
No, we got to come up with
something. Positive.
No,
I got some. Don't worry about it. But yes, no, but like, subscribe, hit the notifications. Ryan and I are here every Fridays, and we're breaking down the hot mess so we can bring some jokes to your week, so we can go through this news together. But we always encourage you, please look it up, hold us accountable, write into the group chat, let us know what you think. We want to hear from you guys.
And I love that you said that, man. Like, please hold us accountable. Like, if we're wrong about something, tell us. Like, I don't. Granted, it's a little bit about the approach, but I actually appreciate constructive criticism. You know, like a show or two ago when you called me up and said, you called me out on something and said, hey, just do better. And it's like, that to me is constructive criticism. But, there's a big difference between that and I think what's happening right now. That's not constructive criticism for Joe. That's, like you said, that's for salacious clicks and all that. Yeah. And that's all it is. And that's like I said, it's just disappointing. But going back to the Supreme Court, they ruled in favor of a January 6th rioter who was challenging his obstruction charge. The Supreme Court on Friday ruled in favor of a former police officer who is seeking to throw out an obstruction charge for joining the Capitol riot on January 6, 2021. The justices, in a 6-3 vote on non-ideological lines, handed a win to defendant Joseph Fisher, who is among hundreds of January 6 defendants, including former President Donald Trump, who have been charged with obstructing an official proceeding over the effort to prevent Congress's certification of President Joe Biden's election victory. The court concluded that the law, enacted in 2002 as part of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, after the Enron accounting scandal, was only intended to apply to more limited circumstances involving forms of evidence tampering, not the much broader array of situations that prosecutors have claimed it covered. The provision targets anyone who obstructs, influences, or impedes any official proceeding or attempts to do so, but the court determined that its scope is limited by a preceding sentence in the statute referring to altering or destroying records. So basically what the court said is that because they didn't destroy any records, that law didn't apply. So now everybody that they were using this particular legal precedent to go after will now basically have the charges dropped, thanks to the Supreme Court. So I guess we're just going to let domestic terrorism, fucking take over here in the United States.
This is where we have to have scholars who are on their P's and Q's, where they have to predict these kind of moves. This is why I'm really rooting for someone like Kendrick Lamar to be in office, where he can predict all of them.
I hate the way you walk, the way you talk.
I predict your angles. You know what I'm saying? We need people who really, like you said, can see past their nose, but can see that this is what they're going to be up against, right?
Yeah.
Because the goalpost is always going to be pushed back further and further. Again, look at what's happening with Trump's trial cases. The ones that actually really do matter. The one where we do want to see him for J6. We want to see him in DC face his peers.
Yeah.
That case is being pushed around and we're still waiting. We're waiting not only 60 days from the actual hearing that they had at the Supreme Court, but we're waiting since last December when when Jack Smith asked for this to be expedited and to be put on the table. Let's go. Let's get to the point. Let's just get this going. And no, they have told the Americans, the people of America, that you guys can take a back seat and that we will decide what's right for America.
Yeah, for sure.
And all they're doing is making this more political than it needs to be.
100%. It feels like Supreme Court's really dipping in politics lately. So the last one we're going to talk about, and there's been a couple other Supreme Court rulings that were kind of crappy. These were just the three that stuck out to me. Yeah. The Supreme Court now says that cities can punish the unhoused for sleeping in public places. In its biggest decision on homelessness in decades, the U.S. Supreme Court today ruled that cities can ban people from sleeping and camping in public places. The justices, in a 6-3 decision along ideological lines, overturned lower court rulings that deemed it cruel and unusual under the Eighth Amendment to punish people for sleeping outside if they had nowhere else to go. Writing for the majority, Justice Gurish said, homelessness is complex. Its causes are many. But he said federal judges do not have any special competence to decide how cities should deal with this. In a dissent, Justice Sotomayor said the decision focused only on the needs of cities but not the most vulnerable of us. She said, sleep is a biological necessity, but this decision leaves a homeless person with an impossible choice: either stay awake or be arrested. And I just wanted to say real quick the thing that really sticks out to me. When the writer of the majority says that the issue is complex, but that they do not have the wherewithal to decide that. They don't have any special competence to decide what happens with this. So, but you have a special competence to decide what women do with their own body? You guys overrule what doctors have told you, and you overrule what the people that actually went to medical school do. So the judges are capable of telling women what to do with their bodies and telling them they can't get birth control, but they have a problem with making it so that, homeless people have a place to sleep. The pro-life party, everybody.
It's interesting to me because if you think about the prison system, you think about how they're trying to fill the jails. They're
And
now
why,
letting,
Ian? Because they're for-profit prisons. Here in Arizona, they passed a law in 2020 that turned, I think, 70 or 80% of our prisons in Arizona to for-profit prisons.
and
So
guess what?
for them to be profitable, guess what you have to do?
Put some butts in those seats.
And what's one of the best ways to do it? Fucking just put everybody that's homeless, put them in jail.
Well, look at what you said early in the show, how you said that they were releasing those with marijuana charges. And so now all you're seeing is a swipe of this switch, a swapping of you're taking out people who've served their time, done these things that they should never have been in there. But now you're going to go after the weakest of us. And I'm not saying that someone who's homeless is weak. It's just they're the most vulnerable.
I think that's a better word. The most
When
vulnerable.
when you do not have a roof over your head, you do not have a situation where you are
An income.
able to get into the system, right?
Yep.
One thing that's interesting about New York is that I've noticed they've put charging stations, free charging stations, so people who are homeless can actually charge their phones.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's really interesting to me to see that level of planning, urban planning. It's
Yeah.
not just for homeless. It's not. But it's an idea where you're thinking to yourself, like, if you go home, you're charging your phone at home, But
Yeah.
if you're out on the street and you just happen to have a specific, I'm not saying they have a smartphone, but some type of phone, because these people have families, these people have lives. Some of the worst situations have happened. It's mental health. It's a number of things. It could be an addiction. It's a number of things. It's so complex. But the reality is, you're just removing the question about being a human being, just caring for, as much as they push for being this, this Christian nation that we are, they're not acting very Christian.
No, sir.
They're not taking the homeless in. They're not helping with planning where they could house anybody. They're not looking at what kind of programs they can get to the root of this issue. They're just looking at how they can create more tension.
Yep.
And then at the same time, cast away people. And if they're going to start throwing them in prison, you already see what the plan is. It's the haves and the have-nots.
Yep.
It's becoming more and more clear because if they were really trying to get to the root of this issue, you would make housing more affordable.
Yeah.
For everyone.
I'll go a step further. If we were serious about helping people, we would start repurposing all these empty buildings. All the empty buildings that are empty.
So many.
That are empty because of society evolving, not as many people having to actually go into an office to accomplish their job every day, more people doing teleworking, more people working for themselves. And we're seeing, properties that are abandoned and they're literally going to crap. And instead of finding something, useful to do with them or purposeful to do with them, we're just going to let them sit there and deteriorate until either, you tear it down and sell the land, or whatever the plan is. But we don't want to do anything like actually help people.
Right. I love Angry Bunny. She's on point. She's
the best.
Oh yeah. Christians aren't Christianing. So
No.
math ain't mathing and Christians aren't Christianing. So I'm glad that you touched on that because there's so many buildings here that are literally not being filled to capacity at all.
Yep.
And this is New York City we're talking about. There's a building every 5 seconds, right? We're surrounded by the concrete steel game here. And when you're looking at this, I've heard the conversations about, the cost effect of what it would take to revitalize some of these buildings. You know, the hustle that COVID showed us that we don't need to do this 9 to 5
Hmm.
of giving corporations 3 extra hours of our life a day, the 2 hour commute to get there, the hour commute back, or extra 2 hours back, whatever the case is.
Yep.
That adds up, and people are not taking promotions because they're like, I'd rather just stay at home and work because I'm getting so much time back, and you can never compensate me for my time. Time
Exactly.
is money, and when we realize that you will never get that time back,
Dude,
that's it.
it's one of the
Our
last.
generation has woken up to it, and we realize due to COVID
Oh, absolutely.
what is more important.
Look, one of the last things my dad said was that when it was time, when his time was up, the amount of money he had, the house, the cars, he said none of that matters. He's like, what mattered the most to me, he goes, was the pictures, the videos, the memories that we
Yeah.
had. He really said, he goes, take photos, take videos. He goes, that's the stuff that you're going to care about, the last few months or whatever.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I really do carry that around with me because it's like, I kind of fell into this on accident. I had a couple surgeries back to back, and it was like I can't do what I was doing anymore.
Hmm.
So now I have to figure something else out. And I literally just kind of fell into this. And but like you said, now that I see what I have been able to build, and factoring in my quality of life, meaning I don't have to go anywhere, I don't have to travel all the time, I don't have to pay a crap ton for gas every month,
Right.
but most importantly, my kids see me every day. I may be in the office some days and be busy, but they know I'm in the house. They,
Right.
they know all they got to do is come, swing the door open, and I'm right here.
Dad's right there.
Yeah, exactly. you know but it's a privilege. it's
Yes.
it's it Not everybody has that ability, and I know how fortunate that both Jen and Jen did 21 years and retired, and she's like, I want to be home with the kids.
Yeah.
She's like, I deployed, left my family for months at a time. She's like, I don't have to do that anymore.
Right.
So she's like, I'm not going to. And it's like, why, for us, we got to the point too where it's like, we have the ability to stay home and raise our kids. Why are we going to have pay somebody else to raise them? Why are we going to
Reality.
send them to have somebody else raise? No, we don't need to do that.
Right.
There's so many people that need that need to send their kid to school, that need to do those things because that's what society has created.
And we're on the polar opposite here in the city. My wife and I, we work. We have our
Yep.
kid dropped off at 7 a.m. and I don't pick him up until 5 something, almost 6 some days.
Yep.
Because the lives that we have in this city, the hustle bustle, it's
It's
a
always.
reality. And it costs an arm and a leg. And you think about it, it's like if one of us didn't work and we were here, it'd be like, okay, you would have the kids, you would do all these things. Now
Yep.
granted, there is some amazing things that are happening with daycares here in New York City where they have access to all these things. So, look, the Big Apple is their backyard, right?
Oh yeah.
But it's access to all this stuff.
And the cost.
But the cost is substantial.
Yeah.
It is up there. But it's one of those things where I think about it. Like if I take my son walking the dog around, the block, and Eno's so tiny. It's literally just one block.
Yeah.
And we come back.
He's done.
But the excitement is with little man where he's just like, yay, we did it. And it's like this amazing moment of walking into the building.
Yeah.
What's funny is I dropped him off at school today and I walked 2 miles to come back because I just felt like a walk was necessary.
Yeah.
I go through these modes. I listen to music. I like to just take in the scenery of everything around me, the environment, and I'll be processing a track that I'm working on, something new that's coming out. And so as I'm walking home, I get to my door, and all that plays in my head is little man's voice saying, "Yay, we did it!" And I just had a smile on my face as I walked back in the door, and I was like, it's gonna live with me rent free in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It is. It's those little things, man.
Those little things.
So
Worth
speaking
so
of,
much more.
what's your positive for the week, brother?
Number of things. So I'm technically on vacation, even though I worked majority of my vacation. It was a staycation. Today is the actual anniversary of my father passing a year ago. My aunt passed a number of years ago, but just a day or two
These
ago.
are supposed to be positives, bro.
Oh no. I mean, it is.
Okay.
Man, hey, you got to celebrate the life of somebody, right?
True.
So
You
this
know,
is
you're right.
positive.
You're right.
In my community, in my space, we celebrate the life of, right?
Yep.
And so the positive is, and I sent you photos of this because I already started it, but I went kayaking around Governor's Island, and I took my time because I'm really working up to this. So I'm just pacing myself. But I went around Governor's Island. It was very busy out there in the harbor, and so put in the work, got around, and I sent you pictures of like, okay, I'm out here in
Yeah.
this river doing my thing, and so I was very physical on what was it? That's today is Friday, so Wednesday. Wednesday I was kayaking. Yesterday, Thursday, before seeing you, I did my anniversary ride, which was 28 miles on the bike to Coney Island to get 2 beers and 2 hot dogs.
Nice.
It is my favorite thing to do. I leave in my area of Brooklyn. I head to Coney Island. It's an amazing road trip, and so I got out there, got the beers. Apparently, it was like a 80-something degree day. It was like one of the hottest days that we're having right now. And my wife is like, "Why are you insane? Why are you biking on the hot days? Like, what is wrong with you?" And I'm just like, "Look, man, it was for the beer and the hot
We're
dogs.
tough.
We're not at all, not at all. My bunions hurt." So all I thought was I need a new seat on my bike. That's all I thought. I need a new seat. I need a new seat. I go, this seat is done. The gift for myself this year is get a new bike seat. That is the reality. And but I got back, and it's funny because I go, why am I doing all this crazy shit? I got to see Ryan tonight. I go, why am I trying to kill myself right now? So all this is going on in my head.
Like, I have
and
to
was
be
like,
awake from 9 to like
whenever,
11.
right? I
Yeah.
didn't know what was gonna happen. And I was like, all right. So I definitely made a cup of
Yeah, it
coffee.
was 11
I
your
like,
time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it
It
was
was we
late.
started at 9 to 11. I was like, all right. So I had some coffee. And then today I was like, okay, I'm gonna go work out. And I go, why am I trying to kill myself for this weekend? Like we still have the whole weekend
Yeah, whole
to get
weekend.
through. And so, but and that was the other thing. I took little man to the pool because the Red Hook pool opened up.
Oh,
And
cool.
so what? So this was yesterday. So biked 28 miles, picked up little man from school, got him back, and then I immediately was like, all right, here's the game plan. Pool's open. We got to get you to the pool because this is game time now, baby. We've been waiting now. We've been talking about the pool this entire time, and he loves the pool. So the whole game plan was get him to the pool. And I'm telling you, purple lipped, sitting there shivering, my man telling me more pool, and
You're
I'm
like,
like,
no, more towel.
I go, we're done, brother. We're done.
Yeah.
We're done. I'm calling it. You're done. You know, I felt like Iron Man looking at Spider-Man in
That's how
Civil
Dominic
War.
is, man. He'll
Like,
sit
sit
there,
down, kid.
lips
Sit
blue.
down.
I want to go
You're
back
done.
in.
No, I'm making the call. You're done. And I remember being that kid. I remember it vividly. Like, yes, no, I can keep going. Sit down.
So
You're
when
done.
your lips are purple, you're about 30 seconds from hypothermia. Come here.
Oh, it's done. I go, I'm not explaining this to your mother. I'm not
Right?
having this conversation. Like, you're done. We're leaving.
Yeah, we're not doing this.
And little man literally was just sitting there in the towel, like, are we coming back? And I'm like, we got all weekend, my
Yeah,
man.
we'll
We
be
got
good.
all weekend. Like, we're just
know.
getting started. We have a whole summer. So
Shit, our
this is
pool's
my
in the-
positive.
my
All
pool's in
this
the
stuff
backyard.
happening, all these waves of the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. You know, rocking with you last night was really great. It was really
Yeah, it
nice to get
was.
an extra show in with you. And but you know, it's all positive, man. It's all good.
Awesome.
So, and the 2 beers, like as I was saying to you, those are for the people who have not made it with us to this point in the journey, who we've lost over the years. But it's in memory of them, and it's always in a good faith. So it was
Nice.
it was a lovely staycation.
Awesome. So,
Oh, and our new song dropped.
well, that was going to be my positive. So shut up.
Oh, then you take it because
So-
this is special. This one's special.
So, Ian's been sending me some of new music, and he's got the album cover art.
Artwork. Yep.
Yeah, the artwork, as you can see, has my little face there, my big ass face, I should
And
say.
I'm rocking the Kumo D's right next to you.
But tell him why we're at the science, why we're at the experiment table.
So I text you and I said, hey, you know, all respect. Do you mind if I use your name and likeness, like your image, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And which I think is the number one thing is any artist to just reach out to somebody. And I said, I've been working on some music and I want to pay homage to you. And I think the best way I could do it is to take us back to science class, how we first met.
Yep.
And I said, you know, I'm working on something, you know, do I have your blessing? If I don't, I'll reconfigure whatever, but I still may keep the name. And when I did this and I sent it to you and I was like, we'll see what you say. And you were like, that's dope.
Yeah, I
And
like
I
it.
was like, all right, my man. I go, all right.
The
I'm working on
licensing
something.
bill's in the mail, though, just so you
No,
know.
hey, this black job don't pay enough, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. All right, I'm just telling you right now. But it was dope. It was dope to hit you up with it and be like, and I really thought about that. I go, how much music has Ryan's face on it? And I go, you see this says part 1.
Yeah.
So when I was walking home today, I'm already listening to part 2 and I'm making the tweaks and everything that I need to make. And it's really interesting because this one is a music bed for you. It's me paying homage to you. Thank you for everything and for getting me jump started back into it. And again, for this experience, because I'm having a lot of fun with you.
I'm having a blast, man. But more importantly, I'm just proud to see you putting so much music out, and even in a short period of time. It was funny because we were talking. It was your last night when we got off, or the other day, and I said something like, pretty soon you're gonna have enough to put a whole album together. And as you guys can see here, he's already got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's already got 6 tracks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you start getting into 10, 12, 15, you got a full LP.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
dude, it's just really freaking awesome to see you putting music out again, and just taking advantage of how much easier it is now to self-produce and put your own music out without a ton of overhead.
It's what's wild about this is this specific project is just my cell phone.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to hit home for everybody. From the artwork to actually creating the music, and then also just distribution. Everything is all done on my cell phone.
Yep.
This is the whole point of this project that I'm doing for the next year.
Isn't it crazy that we can run a whole business from this right here?
That's it. That's literally it.
It's
and
crazy.
When you think about who's like wasting time, and you're like, and I think about time, how it is wasted. I'm like, this is what you can be doing.
I'm always doing something. Like, if I'm down for a minute, I know that there's something that I can be doing on my phone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And the biggest thing with this is that I've been doing this, and I already, as I told you, I already have a number of songs that I'm sitting on that I've not released. It's just more so of not just doing this massive dump of everything. And there's meaning to it.
Yeah.
Science Part 1 was dope to release and then hit you up and be like, yo, my man, the song's already out, and just texting you that it's out there, and then showing you the artwork for Science Part 2 that is in the works, and you giving the green light for that, and you're like, Ian, that one's dope. And I'm like, I can't wait to release that song. So that's it. That'll be dropped randomly at some point. But right now, guys, check it out. Check out Science Part 1. It's more of a music bed for Ryan, for his videos and what he's doing. And it's also just to extend the olive branch for him to keep doing his thing.
So let's see if it works. Can you hear it?
Oh, I can hear it.
Told you I'd figure it out. So, all right, guys, this is going to be the end of our show. That is Ian's music playing in the background. Go check it out on Spotify under Ian Sherman. Thank you for hanging out with us again for another night of Hold the Mic. We love you. We appreciate you. We know we don't have a platform without you, and we don't take you for granted. That being said, I'll leave you as I always do with much love. Keep fighting. Stay safe out there. And remember, whatever you do, make sure you get your ass out and vote.